This is an episode for the ladies. Today, we are going to focus on female empowerment. I have the lovely Pearl Mashour with me. She is an educator, mother of three, master women's empowerment coach, and the host of the breakthrough podcast, Female Fluence. Pearl, welcome to the show.
Lauren, I'm so excited to be here. We're going to have fun today.
We're gonna have so much fun. And you know what? We originally connected in February of this year. We're recording this now. It's October 30th. So it's been a few months of us going back and forth, and I'm so excited we now get the chance to dive into it.
Yes, me too.
So you are on a mission to inspire every woman to embrace her authentic essence and emancipate herself from the confines of societal narratives. This is no simple task. How did you find this calling?
This is a hard task, and I always say it's one woman at a time because it's a big movement. So if I can start with every single, one household at a time, one
Mhm.
woman at a time, then I'm doing my job. This goes back, let's see. So I'm originally Persian. I was born in Iran. I left Iran at the age of 5, and the revolution was starting. So when I came here, I then went to Europe and then Canada and America. And so from then on, just seeing as a child, how, I mean, even though I was lucky and fortunate enough to leave before the madness of the revolution really took over, I could see how women were treated. And I went back to travel to Iran several times, and I just couldn't understand. I didn't understand as a young girl, as a teenager, definitely even still as an adult why things are the way they are. And then I came to the realization that it's not just Iran. There's so many parts of the world. Unfortunately, there's
Mhm.
places where women are not allowed to vote. They're not allowed to drive. They're banned from society because they can't give birth to a son. I mean, we're talking, it's like 150 years that the woman equal rights movement has happened, but we're still working on it because it's been 100,000 years of patriarchy that as women we have been groomed to feel disempowered. That's just
Mhm.
how we've been taught through different generations from our grandmother, our great grandmother, and so forth. So that was one of the main things. Then, there was my mom. I noticed, my grandparents were very traditional, and they kind of, again, groomed her to you're going to become, at a certain age, you have to get married and you have to have kids and raise a family. There was never a chance or even like just a question of, are you going to go to college? What do you want to be when you
Yeah.
grow up? That
Mhm.
was never even a decision, and she never had a voice. And so she never got a chance to do that. So those two things growing up always left me with a sadness because I couldn't figure it out. And I have two girls. I mean, my oldest is 19, my other daughter is 17. I just felt like such importance that I have to kind of pave the way for them so that they can start making their own, movement
Yeah.
as they become adults into the world.
Yeah. And it's such important and powerful work you're doing. I think it's easy to overlook some of the history and the cultural pieces of this when you grow up in the United States, because in this day and age, it does feel like women are making such huge strides in leadership positions, running to become the president of our country.
Yeah.
The first woman just became president in Mexico. Like things are changing rapidly, but
Right.
we don't look at how far we've come. We don't look at how different it is in certain cultures in certain parts of the world where women may still be treated as second class citizens.
Yes, it's so true. And it's heartbreaking. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So I'm really glad you dove into that. And I want to touch on what are some of the narratives that we may still be living by subconsciously that we don't even realize as women in this day and age.
Well, there's a lot of them. I would say one would be the working mom versus the stay-at-home mom. I feel like there's a lot of judgment right there. It's like if
Mhm.
you're working and you're trying to become, someone and you're trying to achieve your dreams, you're automatically judged. You're judged by the other moms at school because you're never around, you're never volunteering, you're that mom that's never in the pickup line, right? And
Yeah.
then if the kids misbehave, it's always like, oh, they're like this because they're being raised by the nanny or the mom is never around. So
Mm.
it's never looked upon like, this mom is doing something for her family and she's providing for them. And these kids are learning and they're looking up to their mom.
Mhm.
Versus if the dad is working and the dad is not around, that's never looked upon that way. Then we have the stay-at-home mom, which is always regarded as she's not really doing anything. Like, why are
Yeah.
you tired? You're just at home. Are you watching Netflix? Are you eating ice cream? And constantly judge. And you have to justify that, I am grooming,
Mhm.
raising these little tiny people to become real adults so that I can launch them into the world so they
Yeah.
can do something for themselves. And that's a huge responsibility.
Mhm.
And then, of course, there's the mom that tries to do both, and it's just chaos and
Yeah.
madness and burnout. But besides that, we have other societal narratives. There is the anti-aging, where, everywhere you look as a woman, it's something that's being brought into your face. You need to do this to your cheeks, you need to do this to your neck, just to stop the aging process. We can age. It's
Mhm.
okay. We can age gracefully. We don't need to stop time. And I feel like it's constantly shoved into our face.
Yeah.
And it's like if a man is aging, he's looked upon as being very distinguished. And if he loses his hair, he shaves it and he's bald and he looks like Pitbull and it's really cool. But
Yeah.
if a woman has hair thinning and is losing her hair, it's like, oh, she's not sexy enough.
Mhm.
Then there's menopause, right? So
Yeah.
like we are told it's like we have to go through the stages of life as women where we are supposed to get married, have kids, the biological clock is ticking. When we have kids, it's like, oh, when are you having the next kid? And then once all of that is done,
Mhm.
oh, when are you going to lose the weight? Oh, you're not looking that good lately. Then by the time you get that all together, it's like, oh, guess what? Menopause is around the corner. And that's going to be crazy. Like pretty much your life is over. It's like you're going to become a monster. There's a night switch. You're going to gain weight. And it's just like, these are all the things that are, and like
Yeah.
we're labeled like that
Right.
all around on social media and all, like a lot of books everywhere so that we start even believing it. Like we
Yeah.
really have to work hard to look past those things and say, no, okay, I'm going to enter menopause, but let me see how I can make that process, that stage of my life in a more graceful way. I don't need to, because if you start thinking about all of those things,
Yeah.
you're going to automatically become,
Right.
that menopause monster or whatever, or like my life is over, because
Yeah.
mindset is everything.
I'm so with you. And I want to go back on the first topic you brought up. This is such a big decision for a woman. Do I want to be a stay-at-home mom? Do I want to go back to work? Do I want to balance both? And it's like, it's almost like we're saying, like, there's no way to, like, there's no winning answer because you're judged either way.
You
But
are.
how about to celebrate, like, I can create life in my body. I'm a mom. I'm raising exceptional kids to enter this world and become productive human beings. And instead of, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom, or oh, I'm just
Exactly.
raising kids. And so,
Right. And I
how
feel like
can
a
we
lot of
shift?
people are like that. They're just
Yeah.
very like timid. It's like, oh, what do you do? And I have to say, I'm guilty. Like I would go to an event and people would be like, oh, you're standing next to one, she's like an accountant or she's a
Hmm.
physician. And I would like immediately just belittle myself and be like, oh, I'm not working right now. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And it's like the way you're labeling that immediately,
Yeah.
if you think like that of yourself, then
Right.
everyone else is gonna, address you the same
Mm.
way.
It's so true. It's so true. And so how do we start to break free from, these societal narratives that we're living by? How do we start to own our decisions as women and get excited about our identity as being a woman?
Well, that's what I'm doing is feeling empowered. I mean,
Mhm.
really, it's up to us to own that and really say, okay, if I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm
Mhm.
going to, if you're putting it on social media or whatever you're talking about it, be proud of it. If
Yeah.
you're working and you love what you're doing, be proud of
Mhm.
that as well, because you're making a difference in your own family. You're providing for your family and you're modeling for them. So I feel like it's really up to us within ourselves. If we are confident females and we check in with ourselves to see what's the most important thing to us. So as long as it means something to us and we feel good about what we're doing, that's
Mhm.
all that really matters. And if we show that and display it out there, then you're not going to give permission to other people to kind of say, oh, she's only this, she's only that, because you're
Yeah.
not only that.
Yeah.
You should never label yourself as only. There's nothing
We're,
about being only a stay-at-home mom,
yeah.
or only working at what job, whatever job. You have to own it and be confident about whatever
Mhm.
it is that you want to do.
We are so multifaceted. There is no woman out there who's just one thing, this or that. And so to step into your power and give yourself more credit for who you are.
So true.
So this word divine feminine, I hear it so often. How do you define that?
I think it's a lot of us forgetting that feminine part of us, right? Because we live in this world, we're trying to prove ourselves so much that we just want to be constantly masculine in order to say, "Oh,
Mm.
I can do it. I'm in control if I'm in this job or whatever I'm doing." But having that feminine part of you is really embracing
Mhm.
that part, that softness of you that we all
Mhm.
have. So trying to find that part and kind of having a balance of it where we are soft, we are nurturing, and we're really dipping into things that make us happy. And it doesn't have to be because a lot of people think, oh, feminine is very oh, it just means like you're going to look pretty or whatnot. It doesn't have to be that way. It's really diving into your creative side and seeing
Mm.
what makes you happy. So where you're more relaxed and not always feeling that you have to be in charge and masculine.
Yeah. It's so interesting because as a woman, I have always felt like, and to your point and to what we've been talking about, like many of us feel the need as a woman to have external validation for the role we're choosing. But that's what's causing us to feel like it's not enough because we're wanting people to say, oh, congratulations, you're a stay-at-home mom, or congratulations, you're a
So
badass
yeah,
businesswoman. But like, this is your life. You're the main character. You get to decide what that means to you, and you get to validate your own choices. And so for me, I think for the longest time, I thought it was maybe, and often the choices maybe in that validation we're seeking is maybe we want like a male partner, a counterpart as a woman. We're like, how do we become like the divine feminine? And for a minute, I thought to me that meant like become such a powerful force in the business world, but that can even become now stepping into the masculine. So it's really interesting, like how you balance these masculine and feminine energies and what they mean to you.
exactly. I think it's very personal, but the key is to really balancing it. It like if you're one side to versus the other, that's when you get all out of control
Mhm.
and you're not in alignment.
Yeah.
Um, just being able to embrace whatever
Mhm.
you're doing, like you were saying, and not really needing that validation because
Mhm.
you're doing it for you. I
Mhm.
think that's really divine feminine.
Yeah. And to pay attention to your surroundings and like the room that you're in, because for example, in the workplace, you can be more, say, in your masculine energy, but then you go home with your husband and you can display that softness and that love that is tapping more into the feminine. And so it can be more fluid as opposed to fixed.
It is, and that's a lot of times. I actually interviewed a relationship coach, and she was saying that a lot of times that's the problem. Like, especially as mothers, we can be very masculine, like, or we have to be if we're the main disciplinarian in the house with the
Mhm.
kids. So then when our husband comes home, we tend to do the same thing. It's like we treat we say, oh, our husbands are other child and we treat them that way. And that's the biggest problem where we need to really, at that moment, chip in into our feminine side and
Yeah.
be more soft with our
Yeah.
spouse.
Yeah, it's so true. So things as women are able to do more and more, take on more leadership roles, the world is so fast. What are some other tips you have for embracing our feminine energy as opposed to just like paying attention to maybe being more soft and um, letting the man lead a little bit more? What are some other tips you have? for tapping into our divine feminine?
Um, I would just say with anything else is really knowing who you are. Or if you don't know, you need to find out. And the way to do that is really checking in to see what your values are, what your core values are,
Mm,
what are your non-negotiables, what is the priority in your life? Because I feel like if we all have an idea of what are those important things that mean everything to us and we're aligned with them and we're using our time, our energy, our love towards those core values, then we're not there's no need to be so masculine and so, in control because you're in the
mm,
flow of things. And
mhm.
I feel like then at that point you can be more in your divine feminine.
I love that. Being in the flow and being able to surrender a bit and like trusting and being connected with who you are.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
to you, what does it mean to celebrate being a woman? Like what does that look like and feel like?
Celebrate. Wow, that's a very deep question. I feel like on a daily basis, I see how we are, and with having all the different guests that I interview, it's like we are so much stronger than we give ourselves credit to, and we can multitask. And of
Mhm.
course, we can carry a human being in our body. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
different things, but the main important thing is that we are very strong. And if we work together, if we
Mhm.
collaborate, our energy as women together is incredible.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I do what I do, because I want to create that kind of community, because when we're together, we can just kind of heal each other, and we become vulnerable, and we're open to that connection, and we can grow stronger and learn from one another. So I just think if we give ourselves a chance, because a lot of times we're very shielded as women and we're really scared to kind of let go. But
Yeah.
if we find the right group of people, I mean, as women, we can be so powerful and we can
Mhm.
go through so much. So realistically, I feel like I celebrate the fact that I never thought I was as strong as I am, that I keep discovering each day that, wow, okay, I can handle that. I can do another thing that's challenging or go through some other trauma and I can handle it, which I never thought that I could. But there is a lot in us
Mm.
that we need to kind of, make sure that we all embrace.
Yeah.
Um, we're stronger than we all believe we are.
There's so much untapped potential within us. And so to let ourselves experiment with going deeper, getting to know ourselves a bit more, and a great way to do that, I know you have a powerful community of women that you help and you have your podcast. And I'm sure you've learned so much. It's surrounding yourself by others who want to see the best in you, who want to see you evolve, who want to support you, and to believe that that exists.
Exactly. I mean, just being self-aware of all your surroundings, the people around who you surround yourself with. That's exactly what you're saying. No toxic energy, no negative energy, and then because a lot of people are not self-aware. If you look around, a lot of people are living day kind
Mhm.
of on autopilot. Like
Yes.
they just go from morning to their, job or whatever routine they have, and they just through the steps of the day, and they're not really even checking in with themselves to
Yeah.
see, like, am I happy doing anything I'm doing throughout the day? Do I
Mhm.
like what I'm doing? Where am I even going?
Yeah.
And so it's like as we live through autopilot, that's the biggest problem. It's like we have to do those constant check-ins and
Mm.
see where we are in life and be aware of who we are.
Yeah, it's so true, Pearl. I always say we're fearing the future, we're regretting the past, and we're missing this moment, which is the moment where we can start to tap in, check in with ourselves, find out who we are, and create the life that we desire for ourselves.
Yeah. The present moment.
The
Exactly.
present moment is the moment, and to celebrate being a woman because we have so many, especially now, opportunities, and life is what we decide to make it. And so pay attention, check in with yourself, ask yourself, like, how am I doing? Do I need a greater community of women? What are some practices I could start doing today that really help me tap into my amazing divine feminine energy?
Exactly. And make that a priority. I mean, that's the key to really to check in with yourself on a regular basis and see you have to make space for what is the most important to you. Because I feel like some people make their life so busy
Hmm.
that they don't have to think about that space that's empty because they have no idea what's important.
Yeah, we just try and fill our time and then we blink and we've missed out on a lot of the moments we could have had to
All
live
the
with more
regrets. Yeah.
intention. Yeah. So for our mothers out there, you're a mom of three. How do you best like create time or balance personal growth with also being a mom? How can you embrace both roles?
So, but that's a big topic for me. It always has been. It's the whole question of balancing it all, right? As moms, that is something we want everything. We want the family, we want to be able to work, we want to look pretty, we want to work out. I mean, yeah, all sorts of things. And I had a lot of trouble with that too because, part of being like a perfectionist, it's a battle because you can't manage all of it and still not pass out at the end of the day. So one of the things I have learned, actually, I interviewed one of my prior guests. It was Dr. Sohee Jun. She wrote the book Mommy Track. She was one of my earlier guests. And she basically said that there's no such thing to really having it all, really, except, balancing it all, but not at the same time. So that has really stayed with me because we can have it all, but you have to constantly tell yourself that you can't do it all at the same time.
Mm,
Because if you try to do it, something is going to give. It
mm,
can be either your relationship with your spouse, it can be the house will be a mess. There's no food ever on the table, like, or your health. You are going to get burned out or, sick or something horrible will happen to your health where it's beyond a burnout.
yeah.
So something will give. So that's why when you look at it and you realize each season or peak of your life has a different time. So if you have a really crazy week at work, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let go. Order in. You're not going to cook this week. Accept it. Be nice to yourself. Have
Yes.
self-compassion. So those are the tools that I have
Mm,
I teach my clients and I tell myself to kind of really have a lot of self-compassion and realize check in again. This is that being aware of, okay, this is a time of my life that I need this is, and then there's a time that it's the holiday, then it's like, okay, now I'm going to give everything I have to my family. I'm going to take a break from work. I'm not going to check my emails when I'm on a vacation with my family. I'm going to give 100% to my spouse, my kids. So that's when you're having it all with your family on a vacation, but you're not concentrating on your work. And you need to be that's the only way the term balancing it all can work. Now, for me personally, it has been a journey because I went from I mean, I was a teacher, then I stopped teaching, decided to be a stay-at-home mom. I was with my kids. And then later on, as the kids grew, I decided, no, I want to do something else. I need to have, I had the desire for this purpose for my
mm,
life, and I embraced it. However, it was a big transition. It wasn't easy.
mm.
I went from being completely 100% available to my kids to, oh no, I'm sorry, I have an interview, I'm recording, I have a client, and I would have a sign in the in my
Yeah.
office. And it was really hard because they were not used to it, and it's now, I mean, they're older and they're driving, but it was a time when I was the main driver as well. That
Mhm.
is challenging, and they were
Yeah.
just like, wait, like baffled, like, wait, you have a life of your own, you want to do something besides taking care of us? It was hard. It
Yeah.
was very hard. You have the mother's guilt. I had to fight through that. I
Mm,
had to challenge myself. But I felt like in the long run, they respect me a lot more. They
mm.
realize that my time is valuable, that I'm not always available. So when they're with me, they know that this
Mhm.
is special. I'm
Yeah.
giving my time to them just like they're giving their time to me. So we all changed roles a little bit. And it's working, but every day it's a learning
Mhm.
experience, and it's sometimes it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It really is, but you have to somehow do it. The kids have to understand that as a mom, you're a human. You have
Mhm.
needs and you have desires.
Yeah.
So
Hearing your story is an example of validating your desires. And I really enjoyed how you said, like, okay, finding balance. That doesn't mean that each area of your life gets exactly 20% of your attention. It's fluid. Some days career will get 80 and kids will
exactly.
get 20. Some days family will get 50 and career will get 50. And that can change day by day. And to be okay with that fluidness and just take it as it comes, pay attention to how that balance or that harmony feels, and go from there without being too hard on yourself or having it have to be so fixed and concrete.
Exactly, Lauren, you nailed it. And that's honestly the way I have been able to survive and go through this transition of
Mhm.
being a stay-at-home mom and now working as well.
Yeah. And I think there are probably many women listening who are like, I don't know, maybe I do want to be a stay-at-home mom, or maybe I've been a stay-at-home mom and now I'm craving something more, but I'm feeling guilty about making that transition because I have been giving my kids all of my energy and attention. What is that change going to feel like? How do I go about that?
Yes, for sure. That guilt, that mother's guilt can kill you. You have to remember that at the end of the day, your kids would much rather have a mom who is happy, energized, healthy, in a good mood, but maybe she's not there 100% or 120%. She's there a little bit less, or maybe even 50-50, versus a mom who's there all the time hovering over you, but she's resenting her life. She's unhealthy. She's frustrated. She's anxious. She's really angry. I mean, as a mom, you're the foundation of the household. If you're angry or if you're not feeling well, your energy is off, the entire house can feel it. Like I can see it. If I'm having a bad day and I'm just off, like maybe in the morning, I'm making breakfast for everyone, it's like immediately the kids are all just looking at me like worried, because I'm setting their day off in a negative way. And I will, whenever I see that my energy is off, I do give myself a timeout. I'm very open about it. And they know I go, mommy needs a timeout. I will go, I will meditate, I will
Mhm.
go for a walk just to shift my perspective, shift my energy, and then be with them again.
Mhm. Your needs are so important. Listen to your heart because then you're going to show up so much better for everyone around you.
Exactly.
So I've heard you speak on becoming the creatress of our lives, which I love. What does that mean to create from feminine power?
To create your life, is really knowing what you want. I mean, being really authentic, to know what you desire, what are your desires, and just going on this journey like I did. Because I was on the same path. I kind of didn't know. I didn't know if I wanted to go back into teaching, if I wanted to substitute and just be on the side, or I wanted something new, just that was all mine and for me, that was healing my soul, my heart, my spirit. And it was a time where I had to do a lot of self-reflection and really read a lot of books, surround myself with different groups where they were kind of like-minded and were thinking along the same lines as me. And I would suggest that for anyone else. If you are in a situation where you kind of um, you're not sure and you need to go on this, self-reflecting journey, do it. It's really important. Journal. Journal what are your needs or what you want to do or what you see for yourself in a few years from now. What are your hopes and dreams? Or what are the things that you liked that you said you were going to do years ago and you never got to it? It could just be even a fun class. It doesn't need to be huge. It can be just you wanted to take that cooking class that you never did and you keep thinking about it, and every time you see that video or that recipe, you're just like, oh gosh, I wish I could make that time. You can. So you need to just step up and make that time and make it work because it's your life. You just
Yeah.
have to make yourself a priority. And one of the things I'm trying to work on too is really make big commitments to myself, because as a
Mm.
woman we make so many commitments to everyone around us.
Yeah.
But we're so easy to break the commitments and the promises
Mhm.
to ourselves. It's like immediately we go at the very bottom of our to-do list and it's like, oh, it's okay. I'll just do that next week. I didn't have time this week. We need to stop doing that.
Yeah, I love that. Make yourself a priority and go after the things that you want in life.
Right.
So, Pearl, as we begin to wrap up, what is one mindset shift that you think would make the biggest difference in a woman's life?
Okay. So I would say the two things that have really shifted me is I really live my life by the word impermanence, which basically means that nothing is permanent. So I take that in stride and I'm really grateful because any moment I say this with my kids, even if we're together somewhere and they're arguing about something, and I'm like, listen, this moment, the three of us, me and let's say and my girls, we're having dinner or we're on some vacation. This might never happen again. And that's just life. Like you don't know the next day, and we're all so busy and we're all going in different directions. But any moment, even just having coffee with a friend, you
Mhm.
need to be present. You need to realize that this is a moment that might never happen again because life is just like this.
Mhm.
And the other word that I live with is equanimity. There's things that we can't control. So having those two words in my life
Yes.
has really changed me and shifted me because I realize that I don't need to be so stressed and anxious about the what ifs and the future and oh my gosh, what if this happens? And no, because I have to live my life in the present moment. I
Yeah.
need to be here right now. And I need to know that some things that are out of my control, I just have to let those go and let it be and go with the flow.
Mhm.
Realistically, we need to live life in the present moment. And it's in the end, it's not the years in our life, but it's the life in our years, as Abraham
Mhm.
Lincoln once said.
Mhm.
And if you listen to my podcast at the end of my podcast, I always end with, please don't just coexist. Live your life to the fullest. So that I feel
Yeah.
like if the anyone who's listening, men or female, if you are in that midlife or whatever is going on in your life, if you kind of change your perspective and start your day with gratitude and
Mhm.
realize that you need to live in the present moment, things will change for you.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Pearl. Yesterday doesn't exist. Tomorrow's a mystery. We're here today. You and I got to have this amazing conversation that I hope helps a lot of women tap into their feminine power and really embrace who they are and dive into this moment and just be grateful that we get to experience this life.
Right, right. We have to be grateful.
Yeah, thank you. And where can our listeners find you?
So I'm on Instagram. So Instagram would be Pearl Mashour _ Female Fluence. You can go to my website. It's femalefluence.com. And basically, I mean, there's YouTube, Facebook, all sorts of. But if you go into my website, it has all the links to what social media that I'm on.
Amazing. I'm going to link them all on the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a joy.
Of course, I want to also end with this one quote for all our women listening. Whatever you give a woman, she will make greater. If you give her sperm, she'll give you a baby. If you give her a house, she'll give you a home. If you give her groceries, she'll give you a meal. If you give her a smile, she'll give you her heart. She multiplies and enlarges what is given to her. And that's by Eric S. Gray. And I just love that because we are so powerful. So celebrate being a woman.